What is up? This is Alex from Double Move Sports with a fun video. We are about a week away from the NFL draft. So I'm getting into 5 bold predictions for this year's NFL draft. So before I jump into it, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, as I go, drop in the comments down below what you are thinking of these hot takes, these bold predictions, and let me know if you like them or if you hate them. But with number 1 on my list, it's that we're going to see 6 quarterbacks go in the first round of the 2021 NFL draft. And the reason this is a hot take is number 6. I mean, there are 4 guys essentially that are a lock in round 1, pretty much 5 guys that are a lock. You know, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. All of those guys are essentially locks for round 1. We could see them all go in the top 10 in this draft. But my hot take here is that we are going to see a 6th quarterback slide into the back of round 1. And it's a deep quarterback class. After those top 5, you still have Kellen Mond. You still have Kyle Trask. You have Davis Mills, who's picking up some hype. And I think one of those 3 guys could be that 6th guy off of the board if one of these NFL teams really starts to fall in love with one of these quarterback prospects. And the reason that I really think this is possible is because there are so many teams that could draft a quarterback this season that makes sense for their organization. Obviously, you've got the teams up at the top that are going to take the quarterbacks, but you still have maybe the Patriots, depending on how things do go at the top with those big 5. You've got Washington, you've got Chicago, who could use quarterback competition. You've got Pittsburgh and New Orleans, who could use a guy for the future. Who knows, maybe even Tampa Bay would be willing to take a quarterback, a developmental guy, in the back of round 1 at 32 overall to let him grow and learn from Tom Brady, maybe be a good backup option. So if one of those teams gets really, really high on either Kellen Mond, Kyle Trask, or Davis Mills, it would not surprise me at all to see somebody make a move in the back of round 1 and take that 6th quarterback off of the board. So that is bold prediction number 1, that we are going to see 6 quarterbacks go in the first round. My second bold prediction is that we only see 4 wide receivers go in round 1. And just like the quarterback position, this is a deep wide receiver class. And I've seen all of the following names being mock drafted in the first round at some point. You got Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jaylen Waddle, Rashad Bateman, Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, Terrace Marshall, Kadarius Toney, and all these various mock drafts. I have seen one of those 8 guys, or each of those 8 guys, I should say, go in the first round. So there's 8 guys that at least some analyst, some scout out there thinks has first round talent. But even though there's 8 names there, I think we're only going to see 4 go in round 1. And the reason being is that this is a deep wide receiver class, and there's a lot of talent at other positions on the board. So I wouldn't be surprised to see teams take the value at the wide receiver position. Even beyond the names I mentioned, you've got talent later on. Guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, guys like Tylan Wallace. You know, there's so much wide receiver talent here. Diami Brown is out there. You've got Dwayne Eskridge. So I think teams are going to take the opportunity cost of drafting a first-round wide receiver and wait and do that on day 2. So with that being said, I think we're only going to see 4 of those guys go in round 1. I think it's going to be Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jaylen Waddle, and one of those other 4 guys between Bateman, Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, Terrace Marshall, and Kadarius Toney. And I think the rest of them are going to be waiting until day 2. So that is bold prediction number 2. We only see 4 wide receivers go in round 1. Now moving on to bold prediction number 3, I think we are going to see at least 2 quarterback trades during this NFL draft. It feels like this offseason there's been more quarterback movement than we can remember. And we all love these draft day trades. We all usually, hype trades up to happen during the draft between players. And we usually are underwhelmed by the action, by the movement. But this year, I think there's going to be a lot of, middle tier quarterbacks, high end backup type of options that are going to be available with plenty of teams that could use them. Names to keep an eye on here are Gardner Minshew, Jimmy Garoppolo, Teddy Bridgewater, Nick Foles, even Jordan Love could be available. Who knows? And I think we're going to see some movement between some of these quarterbacks and some of these day two picks. I think teams are going to want to make a move for quarterback competition or these high quality backups. There are tons of teams that could use competition, Denver, Chicago, Washington, New England. There are teams that could use a future in Pittsburgh, Atlanta, New Orleans, and then plenty of teams that could use a high-end backup. So yes, it is a deep quarterback class, but some of these veteran names could still be on the board and available in the draft. Would not surprise me at all to see some movement there. So bold prediction number 3 is that we see at least 2 quarterback trades during the NFL draft. And now we're going to get into one that's player specific with my 4th bold prediction. And it's that Jaylen Waddle is going to be the second wide receiver off the board in this draft. And no, this isn't me saying I think Jaylen Waddle should be the second wide receiver off the board. It's not me saying this is the right move, but it's me projecting with a bold prediction that it could happen. And to me, Waddle is my wide receiver 3 in the class, behind Jamar Chase, behind Devonta Smith. But time and time again, we see teams value speed. We saw Henry Ruggs go over Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb last year. We saw Hollywood Brown as the first wide receiver off the board in 2019. We saw John Ross taking one spot in front of Patrick Mahomes in 2017. So no, these guys aren't always busts as the speed guy. And it doesn't mean Jaylen Waddle is going to be a bust here. I actually think Jaylen Waddle is going to be really good. But we often see teams overspend, overvalue, overhype some of these speed wide receivers. Jaylen Waddle has value as a field stretcher, a playmaker near the line of scrimmage. He can do it on special teams and make an impact there right off the bat. So I would not be surprised to see a team make a move for Jaylen Waddle earlier than we expect. And if he's going to come off the board second, that means he's either going to be going before Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith. So that is bold prediction number 4, that Jaylen Waddle is the second wide receiver off the board. And with my last bold prediction, I'm going to go to the running back spot and say that we see 6 running backs go in the first 3 rounds. And this might not sound like a bold prediction when you consider that 11 running backs went in the first 3 rounds last season, but that running back class was absolutely loaded. And when you break down this year's prospects, we're not seeing a bunch of hype for those tier 2, tier 3 running backs in this class. And most mock drafts I've seen from a lot of the big scouts and big media outlets only have 4 running backs going in the first 3 rounds. And I have that number at 6 here for this bold prediction. And there's really only 3 guys that are locks to go on day 1 or day 2. And that's Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, and Javonte Williams. And we expect all of them to be off the board by the end of round 2. And after those big 3, you have Kenny Gainwell, who a lot of people think could go on day 2, should go on day 2 as a versatile pass catcher runner out of Memphis. But the list quickly ends after that. There's a big fall off. And I think teams are still going to be willing to take gambles on these tier 2, tier 3 running backs on day 2 because of need. You got Michael Carter in the mix, Chuba Hubbard, who has some red flags but has shown production at times in college, Trey Sermon. All these guys could be day 2 candidates, and there are plenty of teams in play for a running back. I'm going to name this list. It's extensive, and think about it. 6 guys in the top 3 rounds. No, the talent might not be there as far as a draft grade perspective goes on each individual prospect, but I think based on team need, we're going to see some of these guys inflated and pulled up draft boards. So you got the Falcons, the Steelers, the Broncos, Cardinals, Jets, Jaguars, all in play, all really in need to draft a running back. And there's still other teams that could surprise us with a running back earlier than we expect. Washington football team, the Bengals, now that Giovanni Bernard is gone, the LA Chargers. There are tons of teams in play for a running back. And once we see Najee, Etienne, Javonte Williams, even Kenny Gainwell go off the board, I think we're going to see teams reach on some running backs in round 3, which is going to be really, really interesting and something to keep an eye out for. 1, what teams are making these moves. 2, what prospects are jumping up into the 3rd round, because that's going to be telling for the running back position. One of the biggest correlations to a breakout at the running back spot, actually the biggest correlation, is that draft capital that day one or day two draft capital is just so important. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see who those guys are. So really quickly to recap these bold predictions, we'll see how many of these I hit on, if any, when we get to the draft next weekend. But number one is we're going to see 6 quarterbacks go in the first round. Number 2 is that we only see 4 wide receivers go in round 1. Number 3 is that we see at least 2 quarterback trades during the draft. Number 4 is that Jaylen Waddle is the second wide receiver off of the board. And number 5 is that we see 6 running backs go in the first 3 rounds of the 2021 NFL Draft. So thank you so much for watching. I want to know what you think of these bold predictions in the comments down below. Let me see some of your own in the comments as well. But again, this is Alex from Double Move Sports, and we'll see you next time.